All right, well, we're going to start out today in Texas and we'll talk with Susanna. Hi, Susanna. What do you got for us today?
Hi, Andrew. Thank you.
Yeah.
Longtime friend of the ministry, and love your message.
Oh, thank you.
The reason I'm calling, you're welcome. I listened to all your teachings, so this should be easy for me, but I'm having trouble in that I've recently been diagnosed with a health issue that's from an idiopathic source, which causes problems. But there are other lifestyle choices I've made in my past as well that may have contributed to this health issue today. It's not known for sure, but markers point to that it could have been. And my question is on how to have a grace perspective, because I'm really in a lot of self-loathing and hatred, saying, "Well, this is what you get. This is what you deserve." And I know that's not. I know stuff just happens, and that there are earthly consequences to our choices. But I just don't know how to stop being so angry with myself. And I don't even know if I caused it, right? It could just be truly that it's just a fluke, a genetic fluke. I don't know. So just curious your thoughts.
Okay, yes. Well, by definition, you talked about idiopathic. I mean, by definition, idiopathic is unknown cause. And that's exactly what you're dealing with, an unknown cause. I mean, for what it's worth, I can share with you that I spent I don't know, 35 years, 35 years with undiagnosed allergies and intolerances. And oh my goodness, you think, well, an allergy must cause you to sneeze. No, no. I dealt with some pretty intense symptoms. At one time I was feeding my body 4 or 5 allergens. Then I reduced it to about 2 or 3 when I knew better. And then I finally reduced it to 0, but it took 3 decades to discover what it was. And you say, why did God allow that? Why did that happen? You could ask that question all day long, and you're right. You've already got the answer. You suggested it, that we live in a fallen world, and that fallen world is full of confusion and death and disease and imperfection, and that's exactly why you've got what you've got, because you live in a fallen world. And I guess I prayed 500 times that I would feel better and have relief from symptoms, and struggling with headaches every day. And as a younger person, when I had all of that going on, it was depression and anxiety, and I thought it was God trying to tell me something, and the whole time I was feeding my body poison. I just didn't know it. So I don't know what your physical ailment is. It is obviously you don't know the cause of it, but it sounds like the enemy is trying to play cause and effect with you. For example, I can't believe you smoked those cigarettes for so long, or I can't believe you had intercourse with multiple partners and caused this, or I can't believe you, whatever. And the accuser, you could fill in the blank. It could be smoking, drinking, sexual promiscuity. It could be 100 things. But, we try to play cause and effect, and you've got a very unclear situation. I mean, you woke up decades later, and you've got symptoms that you simply cannot explain. You can play the likelihood game, but even when you play the probabilities and likelihood game, it's not an exact science. And, are there earthly consequences? Yes, but that's not God either. I mean, I can go 200 miles an hour down the highway and get a very large ticket and get my license suspended, and that's earthly consequences. It's not God. It's just earthly consequences. Someone who smokes 3 packs a day for 50 years, they can probably expect to struggle with something in the lung region, perhaps, or the mouth or the throat. I mean, those are just earthly consequences. That's not God. Someone who pulls through the McDonald's drive-through 5 and 10 times a month, they can expect probably decades down the road to have more heart trouble, or have high cholesterol, or whatever. But we also can't go live in some quarantined location across a pond with in a commune with a wall around us, just eating granola every day. So You live on planet Earth. There are consequences to planet Earth. That is not God trying to get you. It's not God teaching you a lesson. It's not God coming after you. Look, if God wanted to do any of that, then He's already told us the wages of sin is death, and then He died. He paid the wages. There are no more wages. So God is not operating with you and me on the basis of sin and death. Instead, he's operating with us on the basis of righteousness and life, not sin and death, but righteousness and life. And you know, the book of Romans talks about that. In Romans chapter 8, it says, "The Spirit of life in Christ Jesus has set us free from the law of sin and death." So what does that tell you? Well, sin normally deserves death. Sin does not deserve, a slap on the hand or 45 minutes of being out of fellowship or God kind of being frustrated or disappointed. No, sin deserves death. And Jesus died. And so if Jesus died and sin deserves death, then the payment is made and there is no wages left. And that's the whole point. So I hope you're tracking with me. I imagine you are tracking quite easily with me because you've been listening for quite some time, and I'm glad of that, but I get it. When it's your own stuff, when it's your own struggle, when it's your own health issue, the temptation is to turn inward and say woulda, coulda, shoulda, and then play the Christian karma game where look at what I'm dealing with, I guess this is my fault, and all of that. Well, remember, I think maybe most importantly out of everything I'm saying, remember that God says you are blameless. Now, hear what that word is, and let's break that down. You are blameless. That means God is not blaming you. God is not blaming you. You are blameless. So why are you blaming yourself if God is not blaming you? Go ahead and agree with God and say, I'm blameless. So not only can you jettison the blame, but I want you to go even further and say, I'm the righteousness of God. So it's beyond, it's not just the removal of blame, it is the acceptance of righteousness. That's how far you need to go with this. Otherwise, the enemy's going to play games with you. The enemy's going to accuse you day and night. The enemy's going to say, woulda, coulda, shoulda, and this is your fault. And basically that causes you to just bury your head in your hands and you accomplish nothing. Nothing comes of it except you having a perpetual pity party about you. And that is not God. That is not what the Lord is doing in your life. The Lord is building you up. He's not tearing you down. And you need to know that you're blameless, that God is not blaming you, and therefore you should not blame you. So I hope that helps, and let me put you back on and see. Does that make sense, Susanna? Does that help, my friend?
Thank you, Andrew. Yes, it does. And you're right. I know it's from the enemy, but it gets so easy just to go down that rabbit hole, and then it takes me to a dark spot. So I think that what you're right is not the blameless. I really like. I took notes, and also I need to finish that about the acceptance of my righteousness through Christ Jesus, because and I know by faith He'll get me through anything. Right? I mean, I don't expect to live in this world forever, but that even with the struggle, we can walk free in Him. So Thank you, Andrew.
Yes, I hear you, and I hear your struggle, and I just want you to know that I really respect you and the choice that you're making. Your emotions will rise up, and you will recognize the fact that you're struggling with a health issue, and it's okay to struggle. I mean, it's okay to feel. It's okay to break down. It's okay to cry. It's okay to struggle. Let me say this, and I'll say it twice. You don't have to do this perfectly. You don't have to do this perfectly. You don't have to walk through this perfectly. You don't have to, be a strong Christian through this. You don't have to do this perfectly. And you're not. Nobody does. Nobody does anything perfectly. So give yourself some grace even in struggling with it. Of course, you struggle because it's a physical issue. It's right there in your face. It's every day. It affects how you feel. It affects how you function. It affects your energy level. It affects your enthusiasm for life. It affects what you feel about tomorrow. It's a struggle, and that's okay. So give yourself permission to struggle, and give yourself permission to feel, and give yourself permission to not do it perfectly. And then that said, you can go ahead and say, but I do know the truth. I do know the truth. And the bottom line, whether I believe it or not, whether I believe it perfectly or not, the fact is still the same, and that is that I am blameless. And God is not blaming me. And He's not pointing a finger. And the shoulda, woulda, coulda done life differently, blah, blah, blah. You know what? God is I am. He's I am. He's living right here, right now with you, and He's not playing the shame game. So agree with Him, look to Him. He loves you. He delights in you. He's not playing the regret game. Don't jump on that train. Stay off of it. Fix your eyes on Him, and remember your righteousness. So, Susanna, thank you so much for trusting us with your question today. I'm glad you're connected with our ministry, and thank you for your support. And please, if anything comes up, call us back. We're here for you.